During a special session of the Human Rights Council at the UN Geneva, on the order of the day, terrorist attacks, human rights abuses and violations committed by Boko Haram. At the beginning of the meeting, the Council held a minute of silence in honor of Ambassador Yusuf Bari Bari, permanent representative of Somalia to the United Nations office at Geneva, who was a victim of a deadly terrorist attack in Somalia on Friday, March 27th. Over 1 million people have been displaced by the conflict in Nigeria. Especially women and children are victims.
Credible reports indicate that Boko Haram frequently uses children as its first line of attack as expendable cannon fodder. Bodies of children around 12 years old have been found strewn across such battlefields. The group has also repeatedly used young children as human bombs. Boko Haram's leaders must know that they will be held accountable in a court of law for these appalling violations of human rights.
This special session was summoned based on a request from Algeria on behalf of the African group in Geneva. The UN Human Rights Council stressed the international community's obligation to help Nigeria and beyond in their fight against the terrorist group. The Council also reaffirmed that terrorism cannot and should not be associated with any religion, nationality, civilization or ethnic group. In their intervention, the Holy See delegation encouraged an international collaborative effort to prevent the extension of Boko Haram.
As Pope Francis noted, the tragedy faced in Nigeria at the hands of these extremists is a scourge which needs to be eradicated, since it strikes all of us, from individual families to the international community. Crimes in the name of religion are never justified. Massacring innocent people in the name of God is not religion, but the manipulation of religion for ulterior motives. In fact, believers, both Christians and Muslim, have experienced a common tragic outcome at the hands of people who claim to be religious, but who instead abuse religion to make of it an ideology for their own distorted interests of exploitation and murder.
The Council underlined that counter-insurgency operations must be free from human rights violations, and that a military approach alone will not defeat Boko Haram, and that the root causes of the conflict need to be addressed.
In spite of the gloomy picture that Boko Haram paints about northeast of Nigeria, I want to talk about the new Nigeria. There is a new sense of solidarity that is growing in Nigeria right now, a new sense of family. A typical example is the presidential election that just concluded, where the incumbent honorably and respecting the rule of law because the people have spoken.
The Human Rights Council resolution was adopted by consensus. The Council condemned in the strongest terms the gross abuses of international human rights law and violations of international humanitarian law perpetrated by the terrorist group, and called for increased collaboration of the international community to help to put an end to any support and to help to dry up all possible sources of financing of Boko Haram.